Hey guys, this is Shaft, and a little birdie's actually told me recently that some of my Zerg friends have been having some trouble with Reapers lately in the Zerg vs. Terran matchup, and that's kind of understandable considering, MLG Raleigh, wow, pulled that one out my ass. MLG Dallas, very popular build, so it's kind of trickling down the ladder somewhat. A lot of changes have been made to the Reaper, so, this is all kind of expected. So, I just decided I was going to make a tutorial on exactly how to go ahead and deal with this Terran threat. Now, just to go ahead and introduce you to how this is kind of going to work, this is our very first build order here, so it's kind of touch and go, just playing with the format a little bit, so please bear with me. Now, that being said, I want to go ahead and hop right on into this and kind of explain to you my general ideas and concepts when it comes to Zerg vs. Terran. So the very first thing, I'd like to go ahead and show you guys is actually this little chart that I've been working on today, and it's not too important right this second, but we are going to keep coming back to this. Mostly what I want you to note is that there are actually 3 games here that we're going to be looking at, and we're not going to be looking at much beyond these 4 timings right here: 5:15, 6:15, 7:30, and 8:15. And obviously this has the economic potential of each game at these particular timings, and we're just going to go through and discuss this a little bit. Now, basically what I want you to walk away with this is that Zerg is the reactive race. It's very important to know the Terran timings, when he can get certain items out, when he can get certain buildings out, certain technologies, what times you have to be ready for, what times you should feel threatened, when you should stop droning, that sort of thing is what we're going to be looking at here. So, without much further ado, we're just going to go ahead and launch right on into this very first game. We've got BNY Candide, who's actually a top-ranked Masters player in North America. We're going to be watching him playing against a Barcode. It's a Grandmaster Terran. Have no idea who this actually is, but it's still a really good example of Reapers in the current matchup. What we're going to be looking at here is basically what build order this Terran decides to go for, what times he's going to get certain buildings and certain technologies in order to execute this Reaper build. This is entirely going to focus right now on Barcode. That's just how I'm going to refer to him. Again, I have no idea who this guy is. I just know he's a Grandmaster Terran. Okay, so here we go. About 135, 136. The exact timing doesn't matter. 130, 145, somewhere between that time, he lays down his first barracks. This is a 12 racks. And that part is actually important to know, and we're just gonna go right on ahead. See how he actually did not build an SCV. He has delayed an SCV. This is called cutting SCVs in order to get this gas. This gas is huge. Without this gas right here, there's not going to be any Reapers. So we've already seen him cutting his SCV production, and that is going to play a role later on. But just make a mental note of that for now. Alright, so, we're trucking along here, blah, 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 blah. Now, this right here, we do have a Scout by Candide. This is completely not required, but it's a good habit to get into. It's not going to set Candide too far behind, but it is, again, just something to note. And we've got, the Reaper being started here about, that's 245-ish, starting his orbital command around this time, going ahead finishing his wall. Again, these are just little things to note. Waiting for this Reaper to finish now. Alrighty, so the Reaper's finally gonna pop out here at 335 or so. And again, the exact timings don't matter. You could round this down to 330. It's just important to know the general ballpark. Now, how long does it take to get from this side of the map to this side of the map? That's roughly going to take about 30 seconds. He should arrive there around 4 minutes. Okay, so this is about 35 seconds travel time for this Reaper. And basically, in your mind, you should know that, your very first Reaper, if you're scared of a Reaper, should be arriving at 4:15. Now, I do want you to note, this is the very first time that Barcode has scouted. One of the biggest giveaways about a Reaper is a Terran not scouting early game. That's really your very first tell. As soon as you notice that, in the back of your mind, you should be thinking, okay, Reapers are possible. It's not guaranteed, it's just possible. Now, there's going to be a couple of different tells that we're going to look at, but this is the very, very first and probably the most important one. Now, with that being said, we are also seeing here about 4 minutes. The command center does get laid down for Barcode, and again, this is going to play a big role later on, so just remember 4 minutes or so. It's 4:11 right now. This has been up for 13 seconds, so it got started 3:58. General ballpark 4 minutes. That's when he does go ahead and get this expansion. Now, I want to come back to this refinery for a second, because this is also a big deal. Notice that he didn't build it on this gas. Why? Overlord comes here, you can actually see it. Hold on one sec. Yeah, see this Overlord? Perfect position. It can actually see whether there's a gas. Now, he did see it with a scout as well. So in this particular game, this is nullified, but imagine if that scout had not gotten into that base. Even if it had been sent, imagine there was a wall off or something like that. That gas never got saw. This could be a one-rax expand. The Terran could definitely do some damage just from Candide not being aware. So again, he put the refinery over here, and that is just, hidden, but it's always something to bear in mind. Now, the big deal is gas remaining. You see here, there's roughly 2,300 gas remaining in this refinery. It started with 2,500. That means 200 gas has been mined. As you'll see in a later game where we're going to benchmark this, you'll see that at this 4-minute timing, there should be 100 mined if it's going to be a Spider Mine build or a Hellion build or something like that. The fact that there's 200 mined almost always guarantees that it's going to be Reapers or it'll be Banshees. Of course, Banshees will have a second gas, so it's a fairly big tell. The only thing is, the tell comes fairly late. Now, let's back this up just a second, because I want you to actually see how long this Overlord has been in position here. It's 3 minutes and 10 seconds, and he's just now arriving. This is the best map to really get a scout on. Let's just assume the gas was here. Boom, this is going to be the earliest the Zerg can click on it. 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Well, bear in mind, that's actually the time this first Reaper is going to pop out. So your earliest possible scout as a Zerg player is going to be at the same time the Reaper starts. So you kind of want to get your first tell just from the non-scout. And even if your opponent does scout, that doesn't mean he's not going Reapers. It's just something you should really, really, really be looking at. And I just want to stress that so much. But, moving right along, I've made a real big deal out of this gas. We do want to notice here, going back to this 4-minute mark. Alright, so we're at 4:15 now, roughly. This is when the first factory gets laid down. This is actually a little bit earlier than a factory, say, from a one-rax expand or a command center first. So, essentially, what this build has done up to this point is get gas a little bit sooner, which allows Reapers. It slows down the SCV production, as we'll see later on. It delays this command center, because here at 4:15 we have that barely started, 19 seconds been built. And let's even take a look here at our income tab. We're at 18 harvesters each, not to mention there's mules on the field for Barcode, which are roughly 3 to 4 SCVs each. We're just going to round up to 4 for our purposes, but it's a little less than 4, bear that in mind. So right now, actually, that translates to Candide being a little bit ahead on harvesters, but for this moment in time, mules kind of are supposed to be giving that advantage. Now, this opens a gateway for what we call opportunity costs. If a Terran is delaying himself, so much that he is cutting SCVs, delaying his command center, he's going to have to do some damage with these Reapers. Whether that's direct damage or indirect, it won't matter. We're going to cover that a lot more coming up. But, here we go. 515. So, here's our very first benchmark. If you guys actually remember, I was talking to you a little bit about that. 515, Candide versus Barcode. We're going to be at 23 drones versus 21 SCVs. And as you see, we'll go ahead and, reveal this. And it's the Stefano versus Shuttle game, which is going to be Command Center first for the Terran. He's also going to be at 21 SCVs. In the Grey Torp versus Shodan game, he's also at 21 SCVs. So across the board, 21 SCVs is very standard no matter what your build order is here. The real big difference is going to come in when you're getting your second command center and when you get your second orbital. Because an orbital is a lot better than a command center, but it takes longer to get. And we're going to see that, in these later timings playing a bigger and bigger role. We won't get into it too much here. I just want you to, again, have this in the back of your mind. Okay, so going back to StarCraft here, we're at the 515 mark. We're looking at our income tab. Well, it's 23 harvesters. Great. And we're going to go right on up to our 615 mark. Bear in mind, the Reapers have both been bruised quite a bit. They've actually killed one Zergling. But the big deal here is that they forced a lot of units here as well. There's 11 Zerglings out on the map. It's 6 minutes in. We'll get to 6:15, get this pause. But yes, huge amount of lings here. And yes, they kill off a Reaper, but the Reaper's avoiding it. Boom. Lots of annoyingness, blah, 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 blah. Let's back it up. 6:15, that's our big money mark. But yeah, you can see there's a lot of lings, but it does kill the Reaper, so Candide is safe. It's not a bad position to be in, but it's not the best one we can be in. And we're going to work our way towards the best situation possible as we go through this tutorial. But this is our opening benchmark. Moving on into this next match, we're going to be looking at Stefano versus Sea Shuttle. And this is going to be your standard benchmark as far as ZvT goes. Your Terran is going to be command centering first. And we're going to look at the timings, economic timings. What is the Terran sacrificing at these exact timings we've been looking at, 5:15 and 6:15 so far? Where could the Terran be compared to where he is right now? And just to remind you guys, current economy says we're at 6:15, we're at 26 harvesters for the Zerg and 24 for our Terran. There's one orbital command, so we're roughly at 28 SCVs for Barcode. And again, when you factor in SCVs and mules, right now the Terran is supposed to be ahead. So just bear that in mind. It's not, but also bear in mind, Candide has 12 lings. He lost one of them. So that's 6 more drones he could have had. Alright guys, so this is basically a Terran benchmark. This is what the Terran is giving up to get Reapers. This is going to be a command center first build from the likes of Sea Shuttle against Stefano. And we're going to watch this all the way up to the 6-minute, 15-second mark, looking at those same 2 timings that we discussed a little bit earlier. Mostly you're seeing him build up to the amount he's going to need, 400 for the command center. He's actually going to take this command center at 2 minutes and 20 seconds. Now compare that to the Reaper expand. He got that 1 minute and 40 seconds later. He started it at 4 minutes. 4 minutes. So he's going to get this command center up 1 minute and 40 seconds earlier. Now think about this for a second. That means he's getting his orbital faster. On the second orbital, I'm sorry. He actually may be getting the first one a little bit slower, but we're not really going to look at that. It's not too important. But he's also going to double his SCV production. Bear in mind that as Zerg, we can make as many workers as we have larvae if we're, able to stay alive. Terran, no matter what, are going to make one SCV per command center, orbital command, or planetary fortress. Period. If he has two of them, two orbital commands, he's going to make 2 SCVs at a time. Period. And that will play a role in the later stages of the early game. But initially, what we're looking at here is Terran becoming an economic powerhouse early game. Boom. Command center goes down. Blase, blase, blase. Now, also worth noting, 2 minutes, 40 seconds, we see our first barracks. And now the next question is, when do we see our gas? That's going to be here at 3 minutes. The factory is going to get started around 4 minutes and 35 seconds, so we're just going to go ahead and fast forward to there real quick. And again, let's compare that to our previous timing. With the Reaper, we were able to get the factory out 20 seconds earlier. That was at 4 minutes and 15 seconds. So ultimately, the Reaper will allow you to get Hellions or mines or something, whatever you're going for, out a little bit quicker. But again, you're crushing your economy because right here at 4 minutes and 35 seconds, we'll go up 40 seconds more. Here we go, 5 minutes and 15 seconds. This is one of the timings we were discussing a little bit earlier, and we're kind of ignoring what's going on in the game right now. But the major difference is, again, we're seeing Sea Shuttle did not scout initially, but he did eventually send the SCV. Now, what we are seeing from Stefano that's a little bit different is he did not scout at all. Whereas in the first game we saw Candide go ahead and scout. Now, people are going to ask, why am I making such a big deal about them scouting? Well, a scout is a drone. Is a second. Every second that it's not mining is 1 mineral lost. So if you walk across the map and then walk back home and say it takes you 2 minutes to do that, that's 120 minerals behind. Or roughly 2.5 drones. In the long term, that's going to make a difference because that 2.5 drones, well, that's 2.5 minerals per second you're not mining. And then everything just starts to snowball after that. So huge concepts when you play Zerg. Getting drones out as many as possible, as early as possible. Huge. But there's a counterbalance to it because you got to stay alive. If you take damage, well, everything I said just doesn't apply. Okay, but at 5 minutes and 15 seconds, we'll even switch right on over here to our handy dandy little chart. We're at 26 drones to 21 SCVs. Our previous game, it was 23 drones to 21 SCVs. And like I said, we'll see this kind of across the map. 21 SCVs is the key here for 5.15. Why was Stefano, though, able to get 3 more drones than Candide? Well, partially it's Stefano. But partially, it's also the fact that Sea Shuttle scouted. Because Sea Shuttle scouted, Stefano was able to say, okay, the chances that this is Reaper just went down quite a bit. I feel safe enough to irk out a couple more drones. I also think, his build order might have played a little bit of a role, but whatever. The real concept here is that there's 3 more drones here for Stefano. Because his opponent went for a greedier macro play, he knew he was safe to do it. Period. Alright, so we're going to go ahead now to the 6:15 mark and the replay. And we'll just take a look now at how big of a role those extra 3 drones are actually going to make in just 60 seconds. Just 60 seconds difference. How big of a role do those drones make? Well, we're actually sitting now 28 to 31. But there's something else to factor in. We're at 31 drones for Stefano. Before, Candide was at 26. Bear in mind, Candide made 12 lings that he didn't have to. That would generally put him up to 32 drones, roughly the same number Stefano's at. His opponent had gone for Reapers, so it did force him to make at least 6 lings. I think 12 was overkill. And we're going to come to that later, but right now let's just assume that that's overkill. So really, Candide should be at about 29 drones, 3 more than he is, when his opponent is at 24 SCVs and 1 orbital. That's roughly 28 SCVs for our purposes. Candide, on the other hand, is at 36 if we're factoring 2 orbital commands to equal 2 mules, which is a little less than 4 SCVs like we spoke earlier. Now, at this point, we have established a benchmark of where the Terran should be at 615. And we can just imagine, a much, much stronger mid-game based on this than on this. You see these little slash marks because really the game gets very game-specific after this. Stefano does a timing attack, which is all well and good. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm not saying they're great. I have very strong feelings about it, but that's not the purpose of this lesson. This lesson is about Reapers, the opportunity cost of Reapers, and how you can maximize on taking advantage of everything we're learning about Terran right now. I know this is actually designed for Zerg, if you were wondering here, because we've talked a lot about Terran. Don't worry, Zergies, I'm going to get to you. But it's really, really important to understand these concepts. Alright, so we're at 6:15 now. We're going to go ahead and close this replay. This replay we're done with. We've set up a benchmark. Let's go back to the Candide versus Barcode game now. And we're going to see how this game plays out. And what kind of roles we're seeing here. Alright? As we saw from, our chart, if a Zerg feels safe, he's going to make a hell of a lot of drones. So when you go Reaper, you sacrifice your own economy for the opportunity to do damage to your Zerg opponent's economy. Yet that does require you to do some damage to even break ahead. Now, let's look a little bit at what we call direct damage. There's direct damage and there's indirect damage. Direct damage is when you're killing lings, killing queens, killing drones, buildings, that sort of thing. At the highest level, you're not going to do too much direct damage. Now, for players watching this, if you have Reapers killing your stuff, that is direct damage. And if you are having issues with them killing your stuff, you're going to be a little more interested in the next portion when we're looking at exactly how Greytorp handles Reapers. But what I do want you to note is that this is what we call a 2 Reaper build. If you do remember, here's the second Reaper, here's the remains of the first. This is a 2 Reaper build. And that's going to play a role in Greytorp's game because Greytorp is going to be playing against a 1 Reaper build that will allow the Terran to transition a little more easily. And it also requires that he do less damage. With 2 Reapers, you're going to have to do a lot of damage. But you also, force overreactions like the one we're looking at here. So, why do I call this an overreaction? What are these lings going to do once they kill off the Reapers? I mean, we're going to watch so far. Here we go, Reaper dies. Now, what do these lings do? I mean, they can hold the towers. They can clear this. But, I mean, it's not like there's pylons on the map or probes being hidden or, too much aggressive positioning for Barcode. He's mostly just going to turtle in his base and do little pokes. That's how Terran operates in Heart of the Swarm. So, yeah, you've got all these lings taking the tower. Yay! Tower. Awesome. So, the lings finally show up at the Terran base, and there's 4 Hellions. They get roasted. We have a ling barbecue. And, again, just the lings. Those could have been drones. Once the Reapers are dealt with, those could have been drones. Now, Candide is an awesome player. Please, guys, don't think I'm trash talking him in any way. This is one of my favorite players to watch, but at the same time, this is not perfect handling of Reapers. Let's go back to our chart here for a second. Okay, so we're going to be looking at the 7:30-minute mark here shortly, where we're going to have 33 drones to 29 SCVs. Now, between 6:15 and 7:30, we've had an increase of 7 drones. That's a minute and 15 seconds, 7 drones. In just 60 seconds, from 5:15 to 6:15, he only made 3. Well, let's look at Stefano's comparison. He started with 26 at 5:15, and then he made 5 between 6:15 or 5:15 and 6:15. Let's just go to Greytorp, even though we haven't seen this game. Let's look at the comparison, because this is going to be our example of perfect execution. He starts actually with less drones. We'll get into that. Then by 6:15, he's made 12 drones. 12 drone increase from here to here, where Candide is only increased by 3. How does that work? We're going to get into that. Just, again, store this in the back of your mind. We're going there. Now, at 6:15, Greytorp has 33 drones. It takes Candide until 7:30 to reach that point. So a minute and 15 seconds earlier, Greytorp reaches the same drone count. Well, what's Greytorp at 7:30? 44. How the hell? All right, guys, we're gonna get into that, but let's go ahead and get to our benchmark real quick. We're looking for 7:30 in this game. So blah blah blah. Earlier Spire. Minor differences, but we're gonna get into all of that good stuff. Right now we're at 7 minutes and 30 seconds. We've already discussed our income tab, but let's just look around the map. We've got some Hellions roaming around this third. He's got a third orbital on the way. He's making some barracks. This looks like it's going to be transitioning quite easily into some bio stem pack play. He's only just now saturating this natural. Things are looking pretty good for our Terran overall. Not so good really for our Zerg, who's still sitting on a lot of lings against a lot of Hellions, but he is hiding this Spire, and life is okay. So our next timing is going to be 8 minutes and 15 seconds, and we'll just take a look at what our economy is there. The reason we're looking at the economy in stages like this is because of the snowball effect. When you get more drones earlier, you can get more drones later, or anything else you want to make for that matter. Alright, so here at 8:16, we're at 42 harvesters for Candide, 35 for Barcode. But Barcode is also sitting on 3 orbitals. 3 orbitals, that's 12 SCVs. That makes him at 47 harvesters. So even here at 8:15, we've got the Terran still ahead in workers. Well, everyone who plays Zerg knows Zerg really is supposed to be ahead right now. This is not a cool situation. So, in a lot of ways, even though the units killed tab, actually, hold on, that's not units killed. Alright, units killed tab says Barcode is only killed 4 units. Now, those are 4 lings. That's not much by way of direct damage. But the indirect damage of forcing such a large number of lings, as we're seeing still on the field, that's a lot of damage. That's a lot of damage. Alright, so this is going to be the end of this Candide game. We're going to go ahead to our Greytorp game, where we're going to see just some epic, awesome Reaper defense. Bear in mind, this was a 2 Reaper variation, which is a little harder to transition out of, but even with it being harder to transition out of, a little less economic, Barcode is wrecking the economy. He's on 3 orbital commands, floating around 35 harvesters. 47 if you count in mules, blah, 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 blah. But yeah, ridiculous 6 situation here for Barcode, period. Greytorp. You actually can see here, I've got, some exclamation points on different timings here. This 26 drones in the Candide game was the overmaking of lings, blah blah blah. What we're looking at the Grey Torp game, the reason this is where it is actually because compared to Stefano and Candide, Grey Torp is actually low on drones. He's actually equal with his Terran opponent. But there's something key about this timing here. Remember exactly what time the Reapers actually showed up. Was around 4:15, 4:30. Well, Grey Torp is going to make lings at exactly that timing, and there's a couple of reasons why he does this. Mostly, he sees the Reapers on the way with a well-placed Overlord. And, as far as tells go, that's probably the best one, but it's also about as late coming as the gas tell. So again, the biggest tell to look for is the Terran scouting? Because usually when a Terran doesn't scout, there, is a tell that it's going to be Reapers. And Grey Torp will just make 6 lings. Boom. No problem. No problem. And from there, he feels completely safe. You'll see him go ahead up to 33 drones. And then, we're just going to go ahead right on into our game here because there's only so much an overview can tell you. All right, so, just going to times 4 right on through this. We'll get the bare minimum basics of the build order. It's going to be a 16 hatch, 15 pool build. Real cool stuff. And this is about a 15 pool. And here about 3 minutes, we're actually going to see a couple of different things here. We've got the Overlord going ahead being sent right on in. Reapers getting started at the time we expect. Now, this is a little bit of an odd decision here. At exactly 3 minutes, and, the exact portion is not too big a deal, but roughly around 3 minutes, we've got this drone being sent right over here to patrol. This is what we're calling a patrol drone. Reason being, 1, the Terran has not scouted yet. Again, that's a huge tell. 2, bunker rushes still happen. Proxy barracks still happen. Bunker rush Reaper still happens. There's a lot of cheese that can be thrown at you. This drone, no problem. It's going to see all of that. This is a time SCV would usually show up for a bunker rush. And, we've got this Overlord great position. He actually sees the Reaper. So he can pull this drone right on back. Again, no harm, no foul. So what is the response here? I do want to point out, I didn't mention it earlier, but after the 3-minute drone patrol, that was an 18 Overlord and then an 18 gas. About 3 minutes, 40 seconds, he saw that Overlord, went ahead, pulls back that drone. He's going to get his queen as soon as possible, but now what he's going to do is use his larva to go ahead and get out lings. The next couple of things you're going to see him build are going to be these 6 lings I was talking about. And 6 lings with your queens are perfect, see, 6 lings, to zone out Reapers. Now, what are we talking about with zoning? You'll see in a second, but the queens can basically cover anything on creep. Queens cover your creep areas. There's one, there's another. You've got the extractor, so you're getting ling speed. Actually, the reason you get this extractor is normally because of Reapers, just for the record. But, here's our 1 Reaper, and like I did mention earlier, guys, this is a 1 Reaper variation. Let's switch over here to everybody cam, the command center, getting laid, same timing we were expecting, factory, a little early, no problem, so on and so forth, 12 SCVs mining, even taking a look at our income tab, dead even. So yeah, we've got this Reaper finally showing up. How does Grey Torp deal with that? Well, first, actually, let's even back that up a little bit. I think I went a little too fast there. Too much going on at once. Alright, so here's our Reaper. Looking for a drone to kill. Okay, there's a drone to kill. Well, I can't kill it if it's an extractor. I just don't do enough damage. Well, here are the lings spawning. And, oh yeah, Reaper firing down. Careful not to lose that. Ooh, bruising a drone. Ooh, Reaper gonna run right on back. Okay, this is what we're calling zoning. See how there's 2 lings up here and 4 down here? If he jumps up, well, he's gonna get hit by those lings. Reapers actually are not very armored. They don't take a lot of damage. Their biggest purpose is kiting. That's why they jump up cliffs and stuff. So if you've got these 4 lings in capturing this, GG. If you try to jump up, these 2 catch it, GG. I mean, real good micro, like Shodan's going to show us, will be able to keep the Reaper alive, but this is what we're calling zoning. Queen shows up. This is basically a shutdown Reaper. He's still going to poke and prod, but for the most part, he gets to go home. And now we're fast approaching this 5-minute, 15-second mark we've been talking so much about. We see that Grey Torp is just chilling at 21 harvesters. Now let's go back to our chart. There's not too much to look at here. We see that Grey Torp is at 21 SCVs to 21 drones. The reason he's at 21 drones is so that he could just happily make those lings to stay super safe, never have to worry about losing anything. Perfect. Now, because he feels safe, he can drone more later. And we're going to watch that happen over the next minute. Alright, so here's the Queen pushing the Reaper back. Just real cool stuff. Has anything actually been killed yet? No. Reaper has done no damage, and the most minimum amount of indirect damage. Cool little trick here. Patrol with lings. Just really good against Reapers because it will chase them down. Now, this Reaper is going to still try to bruise this drone he's been harassing. Real smart here. That had 1 hit left on it, by the way. If that Reaper had attacked that drone one more time, it would have died. What does Grey Torp do? He immediately builds a spine crawler. Spine crawlers are building, so they're regenerating health. They will regenerate health faster than the Reaper can deal it. Queen is firing on the Reaper. He doesn't want to lose it. He's forced to retreat. But remember, Reapers are meant to be annoying. And Grey Torp really doesn't want that spine crawler, so he's gonna cancel it. Boom, canceled. Okay, so Reaper, just forced back over here down the ramp. But what happens when he pokes up? He's going ahead healing himself, combat drugs, really cool stuff. Lings, blah, 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 blah. Lings do go ahead and chase that Reaper all the way home. This clears out a path for the drone to go ahead and take a third. And we're not actually going to see this extractor complete, but notice that the drone had... Oh, actually, maybe we are going to see that complete. Alright, cool deal. So, Grey Torp was able to go ahead and save his drone there, just to turn it into an extractor. But, you know what? He's still a drone further ahead than he might have been. At 6:15, that's our benchmark timing. Let's look. We're at 34 harvesters for Grey Torp compared to 24 for Shodan. So Grey Torp has actually stopped the Reapers from doing any direct damage at all. No drones killed, not even a ling killed. Perfect play. So the goal is to not overreact to Reapers. It's to anticipate it, scout for it, and counter it before it ever comes. When you do all of that, you're able to eke out a lot of harvesters coming right on into the mid portion of the early game, around 6 minutes. Taking a look at our Terran, we're on 2 orbital commands. We're getting our second gas now. We've got 3 barracks. One of them has a tech lab, which is getting stem pack. We're getting Hellions. This is a stabilization point. What we're going to be looking at now is where this snowballs to. Because remember, when you get drones early, you can get drones later, or you can get other things later. So from 6:15 to 7:30, how does the income tab change for Grey Torp for Shodan? That's what we're looking at now. Very basic stuff happening. Both players are, well, here's our Reaper friend come back. Completely healed up, but mostly he's going to sit on towers right now. And we're about 15 seconds away, closing in now. Alright. So we're at 7 minutes and 30 seconds now. We're at 44 harvesters for Grey Torp. We're at 32 for Shodan. Now, This is a very important position because Greytorp wants to be going for Spire. He's got all 4 of his gases now. He's just finished his, well, he's about halfway through his layer, rather. And he's taking his 3rd. The next thing he's going to want to do is go ahead and get these 5th and 6th gas mining. Once he does that, he's going to be in basically optimal saturation. His opponent has 32 SCVs right now. He also has 2 orbital commands. So roughly he's on 40 harvesters. This makes Zerg ahead. This is where Zerg wants to be. Zerg is also taking a 3rd. His opponent has not laid down a 3rd command center yet. And that is going to be just huge as we barrel through the rest of this game, guys. Basically, at this point, we're seeing Greytorp pumping out some lings. This is because at 44 harvesters, you can see he's at 19 workers here. He's at 16 here. These are full. So he's at, well, and this actual 19, he's going to pull 3 of these. That makes him at 16. 16 per mineral line is perfect. That's basically 2 drones per mineral field. There's 8 mineral fields, 16 perfect. When you hover over it, 8, boom, perfect. That's how you can tell. When you have 2 bars on minerals, life is perfect. More than that, you're not actually getting too much income for it. So, right now, he's making units to stay alive. This will help him with any kind of timings that may be coming. And after all, making drones isn't going to help him too much. Now he's going to start making drones. As soon as he starts this layer, he's getting, you know, a couple queens. He's getting these gases. Now he's starting the drones. He's going to get 8 drones. Getting, you know, the Baneling Nest, the Evolution Chamber, so on and so forth. I did want to show you guys when he got the Spire, when he got the Baneling Nest, but let's back this up now because we've got certain timings that we are looking at. It's 8:15 that we really want to see here. And we're close. All right. Okay, 8:15. That's our key timing here. 51 drones to 36 harvesters. 36 SCVs for his opponent. His opponent still on 2 orbital commands. That's roughly 8 more SCVs than are on this tab. So his opponent's at 44. That's a 7 drone lead for Greytorp, who also has a 3rd. So that drone lead can get even bigger, or, you know, he can transfer that to army. He can basically do whatever he wants to with it. The point is, by, oh, wow, that's actually a little bit of a mistake. Come on, bro, you need 3 on that extractor. Anyways, the point I was making here is that he is the economic powerhouse. He has the ability to make and break this game. He gets to force it. He gets to make the decisions. Why can he do that? Because he was able to safely hold off the Reapers. In a game where a Terran does not go for Reapers, they have a much, much stronger economy, so they're not so reliant on actually doing damage as they are on, you know, getting their upgrades out, getting their good tech out, getting combat shields, getting stem pack, getting drop, getting mines. Terran can basically sit and camp on however many bases they want until they decide to do damage. When they start trying to do damage, that's when you can start taking advantage of them. When they do it early on and like a Reaper type attack, like we're seeing here, then the Zerg is forced to respond. And it's based on the strength of that response whether or not the Terran gets ahead. The Zerg will always have the ability to zone out early aggression, but the question is, how much stuff do you need to zone it out? If you can get the bare minimum of stuff, you're going to be much, much further ahead. In this case, it's going to be about 6 lings. 6 lings can zone out 1 Reaper. If I saw 2 Reapers, I would make 1 more pair of lings, but really 6 is all you need, even in that situation. guys, I really hope this helped, because this is basically going to go ahead and end this tutorial. I know it's been a little bit of a longer one, but if you like the format, then please, guys, go ahead and leave a comment saying so. If this helps you out, please let us know. This is our very first build order guide, so I'm kind of learning as we go here. Hopefully mixing it up based on theme, game by game by game, didn't confuse anybody too much. I like this style, but if you don't, please let us know. If you do like the style, let us know as well, because hell, everyone's opinion counts. I'm definitely listening, guys. Thanks for tuning in. This has been Shaft, the Clanny casting crew. Hopefully you're gonna own a lot more ladder games. Reaping the Reaper. Enjoy it, guys. Bye bye.